A week before our wedding, I warned my fiancée her winter trip with another man meant betrayal and our end. While she packed for her planned infidelity, I quietly did the same. Be me, 29 years old, living in Sacramento, working as a civil engineer for a major construction company. Life seems perfect from the outside. Making good money, living the dream. Decide to make dinner for my girl Amanda one cold December evening. Cooking her favorite meal? Roasted lamb with rosemary potatoes and grilled asparagus. Kitchen filled with amazing aromas. Check the clock. Already 8:15. She should be home soon. Set up the dining room table. Grab that expensive Merlot I've been saving. Light some candles for the mood. Lean against the marble counter. Tap my fingers nervously. Can't help but think about the last few months. Been crazy busy with her finishing grad school. Me managing construction sites across the city. Tonight is about forgetting all that stress. Just want to focus on us. Hear the front door open with a soft creak. Amanda walks in looking gorgeous as always. Her auburn hair falling loose around her shoulders. That confident smile I felt for years ago. Shrugs off her winter coat. Drops her bag by the door. Can tell by her movements something's different. She's unusually energetic. Like she's got something on her mind. She spots me in the kitchen. "Hey, babe," she calls out. "Smells incredible in here." Hand her a glass of wine. Try to be casual. Thought we deserved a nice dinner. "You've been working so hard." She takes the glass but doesn't drink. Studies the table setup instead. "This is quite the effort for a random Thursday." Chuckle at her comment. "Just wanted to celebrate you finishing the semester. Thought we could talk about taking a trip." Once you're done with your final classes, notice how her eyes light up at the word trip. That playful smirk appears, the one she gets when she's hiding something. She looks at me over her wine glass, lips curled into that mysterious smile. "A trip?" she asks playfully. "What kind of trip are you thinking about?" Tell her my plans. Was thinking we could get away for a week or two. Maybe head up to the Cascade Mountains. Or fly to Sonoma Valley for some wine tasting. Know you've always wanted to go there. Amanda swirls her wine glass. Something's off about the way she's looking at me, like she's amused by my suggestion. Takes a slow sip, sets the glass down carefully. Can tell she's choosing her words. "Actually, funny you mention a trip," she says. Her voice is too casual. "I've already got plans." Feel my stomach drop. "Plans?" "Yeah, Claire and Bethany and I. We've been talking about it for a while. Going on a road trip across the country, right after graduation. We've got everything planned. All the reservations are made. We're leaving right after the ceremony." Blink in surprise. Try to process what I'm hearing. "Wait, what? The whole winter?" She laughs and waves her hand dismissively. "Oh, come on, Ryan. It's something we've been planning since freshman year. We've been saving up forever. It's going to be amazing." Stare at her in disbelief. A cross-country road trip with Claire and Bethany. The same Claire and Bethany who get blackout drunk every weekend. The ones who flirt with anything that moves at bars. The same friends she always comes back from parties with at 4 a.m. Making me feel uneasy? The thought of her spending 3 months with them, miles away from me, feel my chest tighten. "Amanda, are you serious?" Keep my voice calmer than I feel. "You're really planning to disappear for the whole winter?" She shrugs like it's nothing. "It's not like I'll be gone forever. Just a few months. We'll FaceTime. Everything will be fine." Set my glass down, cross my arms, try to keep my composure. "You didn't think to mention this to me before now? We're supposed to be getting married soon, and you're planning a winter road trip with your party friends. How am I supposed to feel about this?" Her expression shifts. That smirk falters for just a second. Before she regains control, "Ryan, don't overreact. It's not like I'm doing anything wrong. We've been planning this for years." Feel my jaw tighten. Not overreacting. Not even close. I know what Claire and Bethany get up to when they go out. I know how things go when the drinks start flowing. And when inhibitions drop, you're really telling me you're going to spend the winter with them? And I'm just supposed to be okay with that? Her eyes narrow slightly. First time I see real annoyance flash across her face. "Ryan, stop. I trust you when you go off on your construction sites or to those National Guard weekends. Why can't you trust me?" Let out a heavy breath. Lean forward. "It's not the same and you know it. I'm gone for work doing my job. This is different. You're going to be out there. Traveling. Drinking. God knows what else. All winter. What happens when things get messy?" "When things cross a line?" She scoffs, rolls her eyes at me. "Jesus, you sound like an old man. Do you really think I'm just going to throw everything away? For a few drunken nights? Come on, Ryan. I love you. This is just a trip. Relax. But I'm not going to relax. Not this time." Amanda, if you take this trip, we're done. Words hang between us. Like a heavy winter fog, her smile fades, replaced by disbelief. You can't be serious. I am. Hold her gaze, not backing down. I'm not going to sit here all winter, wondering what you're doing, who you're with, or what's happening. I'm not going to be that guy who gets blindsided. So if you go, that's it. She stares at me, trying to gauge if I'm bluffing. Then, to my surprise, she laughs. A short, incredulous laugh. That grates on my nerves. Ryan, you'll get over it. You always do. You're just being dramatic. Don't respond to her laughter. Turn and walk out of the kitchen. Her mocking giggles still echo behind me. Move down the hallway to our bedroom. Grab my duffel bag from the closet. Start packing immediately. Don't even think about it. Hands working on autopilot. Grabbing clothes, grabbing essentials. Stuffing everything into the bag as fast as I can. Amanda follows me. Her voice a weird mix of amusement and confusion. Wait, you're really doing this? You're actually packing? Zip the bag closed. Sling it over my shoulder. You made your choice, Amanda. I'm making mine. For the first time tonight, she looks genuinely alarmed. Ryan, come on. This is ridiculous. You're just pissed off. We can talk about this tomorrow. Cut her off immediately. No, I'm not waiting around to see how this plays out. I'm done. Without another word, grab my keys from the dresser. Walk straight out of the apartment. Her protests fade behind me. No second thoughts as I drive. Take the winding mountain roads. Air gets cooler and cleaner. The further I get from Sacramento, duffel bag sits in the passenger seat, packed with just the essentials. Nothing more. Don't need much where I'm going. The cabin. My family's cabin. Nestled deep in the Sierra Nevada, far enough away from Sacramento. That city life seems like a distant memory. Once you arrive, cabin's always been my sanctuary, especially after my time in the National Guard. Where I go to clear my head, to work on projects, or just be alone with my thoughts. Now it's exactly what I need. After everything with Amanda, no looking back, she made her choice. I'm not about to be anyone's backup plan. Tires crunch over the gravel. As I pull up to the cabin, wooden structure blends into the pine trees, like it grew there naturally. Park the truck, step out, stand for a moment, taking in the familiar sight. Air is crisp and sharp with cold. Sky stretches wide above. A deep blue so intense, feels like it could swallow you whole. Unlock the front door. Push it open. Familiar scent of pine and cedar greets me. Not luxurious, but it's mine. Just a large open space. Stone fireplace. Couple of chairs. Sturdy wooden table. Small bedroom tucked away in the back. Minimal. Functional. Just like me. Set my bag down on the couch. Stretch out my shoulders. Feel the tension slowly start to unwind. This is exactly what I needed. No distractions. No drama. Just peace and quiet. But of course, that doesn't last long. Next morning. Just finished my morning run. Phone starts buzzing. Wipe the sweat off my face with my shirt. Glance at the screen. Amanda. Message reads, "Hey, I know you're mad, but can we talk?" Ignore it. She was going to try this. She always does. Push and push and push. Until she thinks she can get me to fold. Not this time. Toss the phone onto the counter. Head for the shower. Let the hot water wash away the frustration. Halfway through making breakfast, phone buzzes again. Glance over. Shake my head at her persistence. Have to give her credit for that. New messages keep coming. We need to talk seriously. Ryan, I miss you. Each one more desperate than the last. Roll my eyes. Mute the phone completely. Amazing how quickly she flips from confident and dismissive to this desperate act. Not going to let her manipulate her way back. Not this time. After breakfast, head outside to get some work done. Cabin always needs something. It's old. With the harsh winter weather, always a draft that needs sealing or a step that needs fixing. Grab my tools. Start checking the roof for loose shingles. Hear a truck pull up. Turn to see Ethan stepping out of his pickup. That signature grin on his face. He's a good guy. Always has been. We served together in the National Guard. Even though he went into real estate after getting out, still the same straightforward, no bullshit guy? I knew back then. Figured I'd find you up here, he says. Slams the truck door. How's the bachelor life treating you? Chuckle while wiping my hands on my jeans. Climb down from the ladder. So far, so good. Plenty of work to keep me busy. Ethan's grin widens. Claps me on the shoulder. Good to hear. Heard you finally told Amanda where to shove it. Yeah, something like that. Grab 2 beers from the cooler on the porch. Hand one to him. She didn't take it well, though. Of course she didn't. She's not used to you standing your ground like this. Ethan cracks open his beer, leans against the porch railing. She's probably freaking out. Trying to figure out how to worm her way back into your life. She's already texting me nonstop. Take a long drink of my beer. Enjoy the cold bite against the afternoon chill. I'm not buying it, though. I'm done with her games. Good. Ethan nods, his face growing more serious. It's about time, honestly. I don't know why you didn't cut her off sooner. You've heard the rumors, right? Frown. Set my beer down on the railing. What rumors? Ethan hesitates, takes another long drink, before speaking again. I didn't want to say anything while you were still with her. But I've heard things, a lot of things about Amanda when you were away for work last year. She wasn't exactly keeping herself busy at home. If you know what I mean? Stare at him, mind racing. What are you saying? He sighs, runs a hand through his hair. There's talk that she cheated on you, Ryan. I heard it from a couple of people. There was this one night at that club downtown, the Summit. She was there with Claire and Bethany. And let's just say, she wasn't acting like someone in a committed relationship. Feel my jaw clench. This was news I hadn't expected. Even from Amanda, knew her friends were a bad influence. But this, who told you? Does it matter? The guy who saw her is reliable. Saw her getting a little too cozy with some guy. And not in a friendly way. I'm sorry, man. Stand there, staring out at the mountains. Mind working through the new information. Hadn't expected Ethan to hit me with that. But now pieces of the puzzle, starting to come together. Amanda's casual dismissal of my concerns. Her attitude, the constant pushback when I brought up her friends. It all makes sense now. So she's been lying to me. Mutter more to myself than Ethan. Seems like it, Ethan says quietly. Look, man, you don't need her. You got a good thing going here. You deserve better than someone who'd pull that shit behind your back. Nod, though my mind is elsewhere. It wasn't enough to just know this. Need to confirm it. Not about to sit back. Let rumors twist in my head. If she'd done what Ethan said, needed to hear it from someone who knew. That evening, after Ethan left, sit on the porch, staring at my phone. Amanda had sent more messages. Haven't opened them. Instead, start thinking about Hannah, the woman who owns the small diner near the cabin. Only spoken a few times, but she seems like the type who keeps her ear to the ground. Small town folks like her know things. Maybe she'd heard something about Amanda that I hadn't. Next day, decide to pay her a visit. Not hard to find her. She's in the diner, wiping down counter with practiced movements. When I walk in, hey there, call out to her. She turns, brushes a strand of blonde hair from her face, smiles warmly. Ryan, right? Didn't expect to see you here. What brings you by? Just wanted to say hello, and maybe ask you a question or two. Her eyebrows rise, curiosity sparking in her eyes. Oh, what kind of questions? About Amanda. Pause to watch her reaction carefully. You probably heard about what's going on between us. We broke up. Hannah gives a slight nod, her expression unreadable. Yeah, I've heard. Sorry to hear that. Shake my head. Don't be. It needed to happen. But I'm hearing some things. Things that make me wonder. If there's more I should know. Her eyes flick to mine, her posture shifting slightly. I've heard some rumors. People talk, especially in a town this size. What exactly are you asking, Ryan? Take a deep breath. Did she cheat on me? The small town bar is dimly lit, kind of place where people drink in silence or have hushed conversations, away from the outside world. Ethan and I walk in. Creaky door announces our arrival. Bartender glances up, gives a nod of recognition, goes back to polishing glasses. Find a table near the back, close to the pool table, far enough from the regulars, nursing their beers at the bar. Ethan insisted we grab a drink. Claims I need to get out of my head. Maybe he's right. Maybe I do need a distraction. Not sure a beer will solve anything tonight. 2 lagers. Ethan calls out, waves to the bartender, turns his attention to me. You look like you're about to solve world hunger, man. Lighten up. Chuckle. Shake my head. Just thinking about Amanda. He asks, though he already knows the answer. Yeah, what else? Lean back in the worn leather booth. Old wood creaking beneath me. Can't stop running through everything in my head. How I didn't see this coming. Ethan shrugs. You're not a mind reader. And Amanda's always been good at hiding what she doesn't want people to know. You were busy with work, man. She took advantage of that. Before I can respond, bartender brings our beers. Sit in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Let my eyes wander around the bar, recognizing faces here and there. One in particular catches my attention. Kelly, standing at the bar, her dark hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. Familiar sight behind the counter where she works. Kelly's been bartending in this town for years, long before I started dating Amanda. Always in the middle of town gossip. Whether she wants to be or not, people just talk around her, assuming the bartender doesn't care, or is too busy to notice. Tonight, though, She's not behind the bar, seated next to some guy I don't recognize, laughing at something he said. Drink in hand, as I watch. Catch bits of their conversation, her voice carrying just enough to catch my attention. So Amanda's finally going on that trip with her girls. Long time coming, I guess. Kelly's words hit me like a brick. Freeze. Hand tightening around the bottle. Ethan notices my sudden shift, raises an eyebrow. What's up? Kelly was talking about Amanda. Keep my voice low, eyes still fixed on her. I think she knows more than she lets on. Ethan follows my gaze. You want to ask her? Nods slowly. Yeah, but I need to be careful. Don't want to let on too much. Before I know what she knows... Fair enough. Ethan slides out of the booth. I'll grab us another round. You handle Kelly. Watch Ethan disappear toward the bar. Get up. Make my way over to where Kelly is sitting. She doesn't notice me at first. Too busy laughing at her companion's joke. Clear my throat. Her eyes flick up to mine. Ryan. She greets me. Smile bright but a little surprised. Long time no see. What brings you in tonight? Just grabbing a drink with Ethan? Slide onto the bar stool next to her. But I couldn't help overhearing. You mention Amanda? Kelly's smile falters, just for a split second. Before she regains her composure. Oh yeah. I didn't realize you guys were still together. We're not. Say it flatly. Watch her carefully. We broke up. Her eyes widen a bit. Oh wow. Sorry to hear that. But not really surprised. Raise an eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? Kelly hesitates, glances at her companion. Who takes the hint? Excuses himself to the bathroom. Once he's gone, she turns back to me, voice lowering. Look, I'm not trying to stir anything up. But well, Amanda always had a bit of a reputation. You know? Don't respond. Let her continue. Everyone knew she was wild. When she was out with Claire and Bethany, I figured you knew that too. But there were rumors. People said she was more than just a little flirty. When she was out without you. Flirty, huh? Keep my voice steady but firm. Is that all it was? Kelly shifts in her seat, looking uncomfortable. Well, no. There was this one night. I don't know if I should be telling you this. You should keep my tone calm. I need to know. She sighs, takes a sip of her drink. Before continuing, okay, so last year, Amanda came in here with Peter and a bunch of other people. They were all pretty hammered. And well, things got out of hand. She and Peter disappeared for a while. And when they came back, let's just say they weren't exactly keeping things platonic. Bottle in my hand suddenly feels heavier. Peter? Repeat the name. Burns on my tongue. Yeah, Kelly says, avoiding my gaze. I'm not saying they hooked up, but it sure seemed like something went down. After that, people started talking. I'm surprised you didn't hear about it. Stare at her for a long moment, pieces finally coming together. Amanda hadn't just been pushing boundaries with her trip. She had already crossed the line, long before any of this. Thanks for telling me. Say quietly. Stand up. Don't want to drag this out longer than needed. Kelly gives me an apologetic look. Sorry, Ryan. I know it's not what you wanted to hear. It's what I needed to hear. Correct her. Head back to where Ethan is waiting. He's halfway through his beer, leaning against the bar, watching me with that familiar look, the one that says he already knows what went down. Well? He asks. Take a long pull from my beer. Before answering, Amanda and Peter. Last year. While I was away for work, Ethan lets out a low whistle. Damn. Guess that confirms it. Yeah. Mutter. Mind already elsewhere? It does? But now there's one more thing to do. Before I can put this behind me. Next day, find myself standing in front of Peter's apartment. Complex is old and rundown. Kind of place where rent is cheap. Nobody asks too many questions. No idea how this is going to go. But I'm not leaving without answers. Knock on the door. After a few moments, it swings open. Peter stands there, shirtless. Half-empty bottle of beer in his hand. Blinks at me, clearly not expecting to see me there. Ryan, he slurs, his breath reeking of alcohol. What are you doing here, man? Cross my arms, eyes narrowing. We need to talk now. Peter glances around, like he's expecting someone to jump out. Save him. When no one appears, he steps aside. Motions for me to come in, inside of his apartment. Even worse than the outside. Empty beer cans litter the floor. Smell of stale smoke hangs in the air. Stay by the door. Not interested in getting comfortable. So, cut straight to the point. You and Amanda. Last year, what happened? Peter's eyes flick nervously to his beer. For a moment, think he might try to play dumb. But then he sighs, sinks onto the couch. Look, man. he mutters, rubbing his temples. It wasn't like that. It wasn't just me. Amanda was flirting with a lot of guys. I didn't even think she was serious about you. She made it sound like you two were on the rocks. Feel a flash of anger, but keep it in check. So you slept with her? Peter flinches, then nods. Yeah, she came on to me. I wasn't trying to screw you over, Ryan. She made it sound like she was done with you. Stare at him for a long moment. Don't lose my temper. Don't need to? He's drunk, pathetic, already unraveling in front of me. Just one thing. Say coldly, step toward the door. If I ever hear you talk about her again, I'll make sure you regret it. Peter doesn't say anything, just slumps back on the couch. As I leave, my mind more clear than it's been in days. Know one thing for certain. Amanda isn't the woman I thought she was. Days after my confrontation with Peter. Quieter than I expected. Don't feel the anger or betrayal as intensely as I thought I might. Maybe because I already knew the truth. Deep down, no room for doubt anymore. Amanda had crossed the line. There was no turning back. Spend most of my time at the cabin, throwing myself into work, fixing up the place, taking care of maintenance I've been putting off. Started helping out at Hannah's diner too. Whenever I can, she runs the place on her own. Not easy managing a business solo. But Hannah has a quiet strength about her that I admire. Doesn't complain, just gets things done. Meet her early one morning. Tools in hand, she's working on fixing the broken heater, hair tied back in a messy bun, grease smeared on her apron. When she sees me walking in, gives me a tired smile. Looks like you could use a hand. Set down my toolkit. Hannah straightens up, wipes sweat from her brow. You offering to play handyman today, Ryan? Chuckle. I wouldn't go that far, but I know my way around a heater. My dad owned a hardware store. Well, in that case, she says, steps aside to let me take over, watches as I start working on the unit. After a moment, she leans against the counter, watching me with a curious expression. You've been keeping yourself busy, she remarks. It's the only way to keep my mind clear. Admit while focusing on the heater. Too much downtime. And I start thinking about Amanda? She asks, though it's not really a question. Yeah, say with a sigh. But it's getting easier. I'm not torn up about her. The way I thought I would be. Think the hardest part was realizing who she really was. Not just that she cheated, but that she lied so easily. Hannah doesn't respond right away, just listens quietly as I continue. It's funny. I thought we were solid. But now that I'm looking back, there were signs. I ignored them, thinking I was just being paranoid. But she was always hiding things from me. When I finally pause, glance up at her, see a knowing look in her eyes. Sounds familiar, she says softly, crossing her arms. My late husband, Andrew, well, let's just say, he wasn't faithful either. For a long time, I convinced myself it was just his way of dealing with stress. We were struggling with money, and the diner wasn't doing well. But deep down, I knew it wasn't about that. Stop working on the heater. Stand up. Turn to face her. You stayed with him? Yeah, she says with a bitter laugh. I stayed for years, until the day he died. In that car accident, I guess I thought it would fix itself, or that he'd come back around. But he never did, and I'm not even sure it mattered in the end. He was gone before I could figure out how I felt about it. Silence settles between us, like a weight, both of us lost in our thoughts. There's something about Hannah that I hadn't expected. She has a calm strength, but there's also a vulnerability that matches my own. We're both dealing with the aftermath of betrayal, though hers is much deeper, much more drawn out. I didn't know that about him. Say finally, you always seem so together. Hannah shrugs, her eyes distant. I've had to be. You don't survive running a place like this without learning to handle things on your own. It was hard at first, but I've made peace with it. The diner keeps me busy enough that I don't have time to dwell on the past. Nod, understanding more than I let on. I guess we got that in common. She smiles, but it doesn't quite reach her eyes. Yeah, I guess we do. Rest of the morning passes quietly, working together on the heater and fixing up some of the other equipment. In her kitchen, there's a comfort in the silence, in knowing we don't need to fill every moment with conversation. Hannah is easy to be around. Find myself looking forward to these mornings. More and more, weeks pass. Settle into a routine. Spend half my time fixing up the cabin, patching the roof, clearing out the overgrowth, working on the old truck my dad left behind. Other half I spend at Hannah's diner, helping with whatever she needs. It isn't glamorous work, but it feels good. To be doing something with my hands. Something real. We don't talk much about our past. After that morning in the kitchen, there isn't a need to. We both understand what it means. To move on, even when the scars are still fresh. One afternoon, after finishing repairs on the kitchen equipment, Hannah and I sit at the counter, sharing a cup of coffee. Sun is low in the sky, casting long shadows through the windows. For the first time in a while, feel a sense of peace creeping back into my life. You ever think about leaving? Ask her suddenly. Watch as she sips from her mug. Getting away from all this? Starting over somewhere new? She raises an eyebrow. Leaving the diner? Yeah. Getting away from this town? Starting fresh somewhere else? Hannah considers that for a moment, then shakes her head. No. The diner is my home. For better or worse, it's what I know. It's where I grew up. I've thought about selling it, but I don't think I could ever really leave. There's too much of my life tied up in this place. Nod, understanding. I get that. The cabin's the same for me. It's where I go when I need to clear my head. Don't think I could ever sell it. Even if I wanted to. Fall into comfortable silence, watching the horizon for the first time in a long while, not thinking about Amanda, or the lies she told, or the mess I'd been left with. Just quiet. But of course, that peace never lasts long. Back at the cabin next day, working on clearing out some fallen branches from the last winter storm, when I hear the sound of a car pulling up. Frown. Brush the snow from my coat, walk toward the driveway. Last person I expect to see, stepping out of the car, is Amanda. She looks different. Her hair is shorter, wearing that familiar look of feigned innocence I know all too well. But the biggest surprise is how early she's back. Wasn't supposed to return from her winter trip for another few weeks. Ryan, she says, voice soft, like she's trying to tread carefully. We need to talk. Stand there for a moment. Let the shock of seeing her wear off before answering. What are you doing here, Amanda? She walks closer, her eyes searching mine for some sign of forgiveness. I made a mistake, Ryan. A huge mistake. I should never have gone on that trip. I wasn't thinking straight. I just want to make things right. Cross my arms. Watch her carefully. So now you want to make things right? After all of this, she walks closer, eyes searching mine for forgiveness. I know I screwed up, Ryan. Tears starting to form in her eyes. But I swear it wasn't like you think. Nothing happened on the trip. I thought it would be fun. But I realized how much I missed you. I realized what I had, and I threw it all away. Take a deep breath. Try to keep my emotions in check. Nothing happened on the trip? Really, Amanda? She shakes her head, steps even closer. I swear, I just want us to go back to how things were. Please, Ryan. I know I don't deserve it. But I love you. I always have? Stare at her, mind racing, can see the desperation in her eyes, but can't tell if it's genuine or just another act. Don't know what to believe anymore. One thing is clear, though. I'm not the same person I was when she left. Not sure I want to be that person again. Amanda stands there, in the fading afternoon light, face twisted into an expression I've seen 1,000 times before. Part desperation, part innocence. The kind of look she uses when she wants something from me, but this time it's not going to work. Please, Ryan. She starts, voice trembling, just enough to tug at someone's heartstrings. I know I've made mistakes, but you have to understand, I never meant to hurt you. I thought the trip would help clear my head. But all I could think about was you. I miss you. I miss us. Stand a few feet away, arms crossed, eyes cold. Watch her struggle to keep her composure. Her hair falls in loose waves around her face. Same hair I used to run my hands through. But now looking at her, feels like I'm staring at a stranger. I find that hard to believe. Say calmly but sharp, because it sure as hell seems like you didn't care about us when you left for the winter, without even considering how it would affect me. And from what I've heard, this isn't about some trip. You've been lying to me for a lot longer than that. Her eyes widen, surprise clearly not fake this time. What are you talking about? Take a step forward, my gaze never leaving hers. I'm talking about Peter, about what happened when I was away for work last year. I know you cheated on me with him. And I know that wasn't the only time. Color drains from her face. For a moment, the facade cracks. She looks like a deer caught in headlights, mouth opening and closing, trying to find words that won't come. Peter? She whispers, barely audible. Yeah, Peter. Repeat, not bothering to soften my tone. He told me everything. So did Kelly. Don't act like you don't know what I'm talking about. She shakes her head slowly, taking a shaky step back, No. That's not true. He's lying, Ryan. I swear. Stop! Hold up a hand. Cutting her off. Just stop. I'm done listening to your lies. You've been doing this for a while, haven't you? Using my work trips as your excuse. To go behind my back. Thinking I'd never find out. Tears well up in her eyes. But they don't move me, like they used to. Can see the panic starting to creep in. The way her breathing becomes shallow. Her hands trembling. As they reach out toward me. Ryan, please. She begs, voice cracking. It wasn't like that. Peter? He came on to me. I was drunk. I didn't know what I was doing. Don't you dare blame this on him. Snap. Taking a step forward. You're not a child, Amanda. You knew exactly what you were doing. You've been doing this for God knows how long. How many other guys were there? Her lip trembles. For a second, thinks she might try to keep denying it. But then she crumbles, hands covering her face, as she begins to sob. It was just him. She stammers between sobs. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. But it didn't mean anything. I love you, Ryan. Not him? I've always loved you. Stand there staring at her. The woman I once thought I'd spend the rest of my life with, feel nothing but cold emptiness, where there used to be warmth. You don't love me. Say quietly. Shaking my head. You love the idea of me. You love having someone to come back to. When you're done screwing around. But that's not love, Amanda. That's manipulation. She drops her hands from her face, eyes wide and desperate. No, it's not like that. Ryan, please. I'll do anything. Just give me another chance. I swear I'll make it right. I'll do whatever it takes. Want to laugh, but the absurdity of it all is too much. She thought she could just say a few words, shed a few tears, and it would all go away. That we could go back to how things were before, but we couldn't. And I wasn't interested in trying. I don't care what you say anymore, Amanda. Say firmly, this is over. You made your choice. Now you have to live with it. She looks like she's going to say something else, but then her face crumples. She sinks to her knees on the snow-covered driveway, sobbing uncontrollably. Ryan, please, she cries. I'm pregnant. Freeze. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. For a moment, the world seems to tilt. Have to steady myself. To keep from losing balance. What? Ask. Voice barely a whisper. She looks up at me, face streaked with tears, hands clutching her stomach. I'm pregnant, she repeats. I found out a few weeks ago. I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared. But it's true. Stare at her, mind reeling. Pregnant. After everything. Now she was telling me this. Can see the desperation in her eyes. The way she's looking at me. Like this is her last chance to fix things, but instead of the panic or confusion she's expecting, all I feel is a grim sort of clarity. Who is it? Ask. Voice cold. She blinks, taken aback. What do you mean? It's yours, of course. Is it? Interrupt, my tone hard. Because from what I've heard, it could just as easily be Peter's, or maybe someone else's. Her eyes widen in horror, mouth opening and closing, like she can't believe what she's hearing. No, Ryan. It's not like that. I swear it's yours. Shake my head, feeling the final piece of the puzzle. Click into place. I'm done, Amanda. You want me to believe you? Fine. Get a paternity test when the baby's born. Until then, figure it out on your own. Her sobs grow louder, but I don't stay to watch. Turn and walk back to the cabin, sound of her crying fading behind me. As I close the door, days following Amanda's meltdown in the driveway are quiet, eerily so. The kind of silence that settles into your bones. Not unpleasant, but full of the weight of things left unsaid. Don't hear from her again. After that day, not a text, not a call. Half expected her to reach out again. Some final desperate plea. But it never came, and I was fine with that. It was over. Instead, focus on the things that matter. The things that make sense. The cabin, the land, and the work that comes with them. And then there's Hannah. It started slowly. As these things tend to, we'd shared enough mornings, fixing equipment, and afternoons working side by side that I wasn't sure exactly when the shift happened, but it did. Somewhere between the quiet conversations and the comfortable silences, there was an ease with Hannah that I hadn't felt in a long time. No games, no manipulation, just two people trying to rebuild their lives. In the aftermath of betrayal, one evening, about 2 weeks after Amanda's visit, I'm on the porch when I see Hannah walking up the snowy path. Toward my cabin, she isn't in her usual work clothes. Instead, wearing a simple, dark blue dress, the fabric flowing lightly around her legs as she moves through the snow. Stand up, setting down the hot coffee I'd been nursing. Meet her halfway. Hey, she says, smiling. Mind if I join you for a bit? Of course not. Step aside to let her pass. Before following her to the porch, she sits down in the chair next to mine. For a few moments, neither of us says anything. The sunset casting a soft orange glow across the snow-covered horizon. Can hear the distant sound of wind. Whistling through the pines, Hannah leans back in her chair, exhaling slowly. It's been a long day. Everything okay? Ask. Glancing over at her, she shrugs, her gaze still fixed on the sky. Just diner stuff. You know how it is? I do, say. Though can tell something's off. Hannah isn't usually one to skirt around things. If something's bothering her, she usually just comes out with it. But tonight there's a hesitance in her voice that I haven't heard before. We sit in silence for a little while longer. Before she finally speaks again, Ryan, she says softly, her voice almost lost in the winter breeze. Can I ask you something? Anything. Reply. Turning to face her fully, she doesn't look at me right away, instead stares out at the horizon, as if gathering courage to say what's on her mind. Do you ever feel like you're just waiting for the other shoe to drop? Like things are going too well, and it's only a matter of time before it all falls apart again? Frown. Caught off guard by the question. Sometimes, yeah. Especially after everything with Amanda. It's hard not to feel that way. When you've been burned before, Hannah nods slowly, finally turning to meet my gaze. I feel that way all the time. With the diner, with my life, I keep waiting for something to go wrong. Don't say anything. Just wait for her to continue. Can see the worry etched on her face, the way her hands fidget in her lap. I haven't told you everything, she admits, voice barely above a whisper. Feel a knot form in my stomach. What do you mean? She hesitates again, takes a deep breath, then plunges ahead. I've been in the middle of a legal battle for the past year. Andrew's business partner, Cooper, he's trying to take control of the diner. Claims that Andrew made promises about handing over a portion of the business before he died. It's been messy, and I've been trying to fight it. But I don't know how much longer I can hold them off. Weight of her words hangs in the cold air between us. Hannah, say steadily, why didn't you tell me this sooner? She looks down at her hands, fingers twisting together anxiously. I didn't want to drag you into it. You've been through enough with your own stuff. And honestly, I was embarrassed. Didn't want to admit that I might lose everything. Reach out, take her hand, stilling her nervous movements. You don't have to go through this alone, say quietly. I can help. Her eyes flick up to mine, surprise flashing across her face. Ryan, I can't ask you to do that. You didn't ask. Interrupt. I'm offering. She stares at me for a long moment. Can see the conflict in her eyes. She wants to accept, but part of her is still holding back, still afraid of relying on someone. After everything she's been through, Hannah, say softly, you don't have to be afraid of letting someone in. You're not in this by yourself. Her lower lip trembles, and before I know it, she has leaned in, pressing her forehead against my chest, wrap my arms around her, hold her close. As she finally lets her guard down, can feel the tension in her body slowly start to melt away. As she relaxes into the embrace, thank you, she whispers, voice muffled against my shirt. I didn't know how much I needed to hear that. Stay like that for a while, the world around us fading into the background of winter night. There's something about holding Hannah in my arms that feels right, like all the broken pieces of my life finally starting to fit together again. When she finally pulls back, there's a softness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. She reaches up, brushing a stray piece of hair from my forehead. You're a good man, Ryan, she says quietly. Smile. Though it's tinged with a bit of sadness. I'm just doing what feels right. She leans in, her lips brushing mine. In the lightest of kisses, it isn't rushed or forced, it's gentle, natural. The kind of kiss that feels like coming home. When we pull apart, her cheeks are flushed, but she doesn't look away. Stay with me tonight, she whispers. Nod, and we stand, heading inside the cabin together, hand in hand. Next morning, first light of dawn filters through the cabin windows, casting a soft glow over Hannah's sleeping form. Beside me, lay there for a while, just watching her breathe, feeling an unfamiliar sense of contentment settle over me. Been a long time since I've woken up feeling like this, like there's something worth holding on to again. But as I lay there, the reality of what she told me the night before starts to sink in. Cooper, her late husband's business partner, trying to take her diner, everything she has worked for. I'm not going to let that happen. Slide out of bed carefully, not wanting to wake her, head into the small kitchen to make some coffee. As I wait for the pot to brew, pull out my phone, start making a few calls. Still have some connections from my time in the National Guard. People who know their way around legal disputes and property battles. If Hannah thinks she's going to lose her diner, she's wrong. I'm not going to let Cooper or anyone else take it from her. By the time the coffee's ready, have a plan. Don't know all the details yet, but know enough to get started. When Hannah wakes up, I'll fill her in. But for now, let her sleep. She needs the rest, and I need time to figure out how I'm going to help her fight this battle. Air is crisp and sharp. As I stand on the front porch, watching the sunrise over the ridge, colors spilling across the sky, like a watercolor painting, speckled with snowflakes. Mornings out here are always quiet, peaceful in a way I hadn't experienced in years. Life in the mountains has a rhythm to it, a constant hum of work, nature, and time passing at its own pace, different from the rush of my old life. Finally, learning to appreciate the stillness, Hannah joins me after a few minutes. Soft sound of her bare feet on the wooden porch, catching my attention. She comes up beside me, wrapping one of my thick winter jackets around her shoulders, her hair still a bit tousled from sleep. "Morning?" she says, voice soft. "Morning." Reply. Reaching out to pull her close, she fits perfectly against my side. Marvel at how quickly we have fallen into this routine, this quiet, comfortable closeness. It isn't forced, it isn't rushed, it just is. Stand there for a while, watching the sun rise higher in the winter sky, painting the land in golden light. Mountains stretch out before us, miles of snow-covered peaks, and the distant sight of pine trees swaying in the morning breeze. Feels good to be here, to be part of this life with Hannah. How'd you sleep? Ask after a few minutes. Better than I have in a long time, she says with a smile. I think I finally managed to relax. Nod? Good. You deserve that. She glances up at me, her eyes searching mine. So what's the plan for today, Mountain Man? Chuckle at the nickname. Had a few ideas. Thought we'd start with some repairs on the cabin's heating system, then check on the generator. And after that, maybe we can talk about how we're going to deal with Cooper. Hannah's expression shifts slightly at the mention of her late husband's business partner. It's only been a week since she told me about the legal battle over the diner, but can see how much it weighs on her. We'll get through it, say firmly. I've got some contacts, looking into the legal side of things, and if Cooper thinks he can bully you into giving up this place, he's in for a surprise. She lets out a breath, her hands slipping into mine. I know. It's just hard to believe sometimes. I've been fighting this battle on my own for so long. I guess I'm not used to having someone in my corner. You've got me now, say, squeezing her hand. You're not alone in this anymore. Her smile returns, a little softer this time, but it reaches her eyes. Thank you, Ryan. For everything. Don't mention it. Reply, leaning down to kiss her forehead. We've got this. Day passes in a blur of work. Fixing pipes, checking the heating system, dealing with usual winter maintenance. That comes with an old cabin. And helping at the diner, Hannah and I work side by side, falling into an easy rhythm. Like we've been doing this together for years instead of weeks. As the sun begins to dip, below the snow-covered peaks, we make our way back to the diner, both of us exhausted but content. Hannah goes inside to close up, while I stay behind to check on a few things around the back of the building. Evening air is cool and sharp. Take my time, savoring the quiet moments as the sky darkens into shades of purple and blue. Just about to head back when my phone buzzes in my pocket. Pull it out, expecting a message from one of the contractors I've been working with, but when I see the name on the screen, I freeze. Amanda. For a moment, just stand there, staring at the screen. First time she's reached out since that day at the cabin, the day she dropped the bombshell about the pregnancy. Haven't heard a word from her since, and frankly, haven't given it much thought. But now here she is, trying to pull me back into her orbit. Phone buzzes again. Another message coming through. Don't even open it. Don't need to. Whatever she has to say, it isn't going to change anything. Made my peace with that part of my life. Amanda is the past, and I'm not going to let her derail the future. I'm building with Hannah. Without a second thought, delete the messages and block her number. Whatever she's dealing with now, it isn't my problem anymore. When I walk back inside, Hannah is in the kitchen, humming softly as she wipes down the counters. The scent of fresh coffee fills the air, and I smile, feeling that warmth settle into my chest again. This is what matters now. This is my life. Everything okay? Hannah asks, glancing up as I walk in. Yeah, say, leaning against the counter. Everything's perfect. She smiled, but I could tell she knew. There was something more. You sure? Nod. Positive? Dinner was simple but perfect. Just the two of us, sitting at the counter, talking about the day's work, and making plans for the diner. The conversation flows easily, as it always does with Hannah. No drama. No hidden agendas. Just us. After dinner, we sit by the window. The stars just starting to appear. In the winter night sky, Hannah rests her head on my shoulder. For a while, we just sit there, in comfortable silence, letting the quiet settle over us. I've been thinking, Hannah says softly after a while, her fingers tracing light patterns on my arm. About what? Ask, glancing down at her. About the future, she says, voice hesitant. About what we want. What we could build here together. Nod slowly, knowing exactly what she means. I've been thinking about it too. About the life we were creating out here. It felt solid, real, the kind of life I'd always wanted, but hadn't been sure I'd ever find. I've been thinking about that too. Admit, I want this, Hannah. I want us, and whatever that looks like, I'm all in. She looks up at me, her eyes searching mine. All in? All in. Repeat, voice steady. Her lips curve into a smile. But there's something else there too. Something deeper. Ryan, she says, I have something to tell you. Seriousness in her tone catches me off guard. Sit up a little straighter, heart suddenly racing. What is it? Hannah hesitates, her hand tightening around mine. I wasn't sure when the right time would be to tell you. But well, there's no easy way to say this, so I'm just going to come out with it. Brace myself. Mind already jumping to worst-case scenarios? Is she in more trouble than I thought? Is Cooper coming after the diner in a way we hadn't anticipated? But then Hannah takes a deep breath and smiles, a smile that's nervous, but full of hope. I'm pregnant. Words hang in the air between us. For a moment, not sure if I heard her right. Pregnant? Wait! Say, mind catching up. You're... She nods, her eyes shimmering, with a mix of fear and excitement. I found out a few days ago. I wasn't sure how you'd feel about it. But well, there it is. Stare at her. My chest tightening, in a way I hadn't expected. Pregnant. A baby. My baby? Our baby. I know it's a lot, she says quickly, misreading my silence. If you're not ready for this, I understand. Don't let her finish. Pull her into my arms, holding her close. As the realization settles over me, I'm ready. Whisper into her hair. I'm more than ready. Hannah lets out a shaky breath, her arms tightening around me. Are you sure? Pull back just enough to meet her gaze, my heart full. I'm sure. We got this. Whatever comes next, we've got this. And for the first time in a long time. No, that's true. We're building something real, something solid, a future, a family, together. The past is behind me and the future is full of possibilities.